Hi everyone, happy Sunday. This is Mr. McComb coming to you again with a little video. If you have had me as a teacher in the past with some of your families with older siblings, usually every week I send out a little newsletter update, and that's usually in a PDF form. I decided it might be good for a couple reasons this year just to go ahead and do some quick videos. I hope they're not too long, but every week, hopefully on Sundays or Saturdays, I'll try to send them out, if not at the start of every next week on a Monday or so. Just to give you a quick heads up on what's going on, I got very used to communicating in video format as we got into our time at the end of last school year, kind of communicating with lessons and things. So kind of more comfortable with it now, and I thought that might also be a chance for the kids to see my face because the mask is usually covering up pretty well. So just a few reasons I decided to do that. So I'll try to keep them brief. And we'll just kind of get into a little update for what's going on with our week ahead. Okay, just kind of keep everybody apprised and aware of what we're going to be getting into. So here's our update for our first full week at school. Usually I'll start off with this sort of general news update with any events and things going on, but there's really not too many early in the year for a few reasons as far as gatherings and things and just things being a little bit different. Really what I wanted to say with this first update or first part is just thank you to the parents. The kids did a really great job of being aware of the health and safety protocols and sort of rules we're going to be following in the time that we're here at GA now. So now that we're all back together, I really was very impressed with how well prepared and educated the kids seem to be on the things we need to do to make sure we have a good school year in these new and unprecedented circumstances. I thought for sure I was going to have to be spending a vast amount of energy and time reminding kids to wear your mask the appropriate way, to cover the nose with the mask. I really thought I was basically going to only be doing that and talking about keeping the kids separated from one another. But I was very impressed that most of the kids, I would say with only a couple small exceptions, had any trouble with the masks at all. Looks like we got ones that fit really well so that most kids don't even have to worry about it. Sometimes when I talk too much, it kind of gets pulled down below my nose. Really did a great job of that. I was really happy that it went as smoothly as it did the first couple of days. I know a lot of us were probably expecting a disaster of some sort, but I wasn't expecting a disaster, but I was definitely expecting a lot more of a struggle for me as a teacher and the other teachers as well. I think it was great starting off with the staggered start and having about half the kids each day, and then Friday went really well as well. Like I said, with our smaller class size, we're pretty well set up, and I think we had a really good chance of, after having gotten off on the right foot, and getting started with that kind of stuff. So I really do expect moving forward that we're going to, again, these things will become more and more natural and part of our routine as far as the way we move in the hallways and the way we, conduct ourselves in the classroom. Really seemed like the kids, again, were pretty well adjusted right off the bat. So that's really encouraging for me and something I'm looking forward to moving forward. So I think, again, like I said, I think we got a really good shot at making this work. So again, thank you parents, thank you kids. You guys did a great job. I feel like I'm much more going to be able to focus on some teaching, especially as we get into the next few weeks. So that's going on there. As far as our schedule this week, again, kind of a regular schedule as far as our class times and things. We don't have any masses or anything else like that until mid-September. And like I said, usually this is where I'd be telling you we're going to have this certain gathering or event. But I think it's definitely, for obvious reasons, we're going to be more just in the classrooms following our regular schedule. So what I'll do now is go into kind of each class briefly and just kind of talk about, again, we're still sort of getting into the routine of things. For our science classes, I did get a chance to pass out books to the kids. And as a way to connect our, talking about, educating ourselves and learning how to be in school now and the new ways we have to do things and being more mindful of our health and safety procedures. I did show the kids a hand washing video at the end of the day on Friday that was pretty alarming as far as like the germs and things and where they hide. Especially we saw like in the fingernail areas where the cuticles meet the skin and the fingernail. And some of the kids said, "Oh my gosh, that's so gross." And I kind of said, "Yeah, that's the idea. That's why it's really important to wash our hands thoroughly." And so hopefully, I think that was a little bit of science involved. They used like a black light and did some investigating on, testing different methods of washing the hands and showing how hand washing thoroughly can be really important. So hopefully, again, hopefully some of us were grossed out because it was pretty gross seeing where the germs hide, and if we don't be careful with hand washing, then it might also help remind us when we do use the bathroom and get the chance to wash hands, do a good job of that. So that was good. This week in science, I'm not really going to dive into the book so much. We are still going to take some time to, continue to learn the routines and some of the ways we're going to be doing things, especially with trying to get out of the classroom when we get an opportunity to get outside and how we can handle ourselves out there and all those other things that are kind of be going on. Really, to get us started and back into the swing of things with school and science, is we're going to talk about what observations are, what questions we can ask, how we can kind of use those questions to investigate and try to find answers. Observing and taking notes on observations is a great way to just learn about the world around us. We're going to talk about science just being like learning about the world around us, and observations are a big part of that. So we'll, as part of our ideas of trying our best, if we get an opportunity to have class times outside when the weather permits, to again fit in line with our health and safety guidelines. We'll go outside. It is supposed to be pretty warm this week, but it shouldn't be raining. And we'll get outside and make some observations of just the things we can see, even just small things like maybe pine cones or leaves, or if we look in our greater environment around us, we'll do some work with that. What if we stop and look closely at some things, again, just to get us into that investigative sort of way. Usually when we get outside, we might be up to tasks and doing things, but maybe we don't stop and really analyze and look at the world around us. So just to get us into the mode of observing, we'll do a little bit of work with that. So that's kind of my goal with science. Again, probably won't get into the textbook too much, maybe the first couple pages where they talk about what observations are and those sort of things and some of the little finer details, but we're going to wait a little bit until we really get rocking and rolling before we make sure we're ready for that, okay? Math, same thing, just a little update here. Math is the one area that I kind of have the greatest concern for as far as, picking up from where we left off last year and where things got disrupted. Another unfortunate concern of mine is that I currently don't have the textbooks for math. That's kind of something out of my control. Sounds like there had been some shipping delays, and our book organizer, book clerk, Mrs. Farr, who works in the office, has been really trying her best to get those shipments in, but I'm sure we all experienced delays in shipping in some way or another during this past several months as we adjust to things. So unfortunately, I don't have those yet. I hope it'll work out well where they'll come in pretty soon, but for the most part now, I'm going to mostly be kind of revisiting some fourth grade material and kind of getting back to, I'll spend a little more time covering some of those key foundational skills, especially things that maybe weren't covered quite so thoroughly or in the ideal way when we were at home last year as the kids were in fourth grade. I know the fourth grade experience was a little bit different, especially with Mrs. Harker being out, Mr. Farrell coming in. Mr. Farrell did a great job. But then we had the at-home stuff going on, so I know there's a lot of transitions and differences going on where it wasn't obviously the typical experience for anybody, but definitely for the fourth grade math experience with Mrs. Harker being out so long and then trying to accomplish remote learning. So I'm really going to spend the first couple weeks, at least few days and a couple weeks of our year this year kind of getting back to where we had to miss some things and try to fill in some gaps with that material. So Friday, I had the kids take basically a fourth grade end of the year test to see, just not obviously not for a grade, just to see where they were at, what kind of things they remembered. I was very impressed. A lot of kids had done some work over the summer, and whether it was the standard summer math book or some other sort of math book that you got to keep them getting some work. So that's great. Having looked at those little assessments I gave, it gave me a good idea of where some things we need to especially cover. So we'll get to those foundational skills. In the early fifth grade work, basically we're building up on multiplication and division skills that they've already accomplished in fourth grade, getting into multiplying by two-digit numbers, dividing by two-digit divisors, and kind of just building the skills that they would have kind of established in fourth grade. So hopefully, again, stinks that I have to wait for these books to come in, but hopefully they'll be in soon. And in the meantime, we'll kind of work on catching up to where we want to be to get into those fifth grade books. That's kind of a couple things going on there. So that's math this week. Other subject I teach is English. So English, I do have the textbook and workbooks for those kids. For that class, same format as in fourth grade, where it's got the textbook with the quick lessons on mostly focusing on parts of speech and sentence structure. And the workbooks to go along with it, so the kids are a little familiar with basically how those work. This week, what I'll do is we're going to kind of focus in on the writing process, again, as an opportunity to hopefully get us outside and do a little observing there with that as well. We'll do a connection with science, and just as we talked about, getting outside and making observations about our world, we can get outside and come up with descriptions in our writing to kind of help us get off on a little small writing project with that. Again, nothing too big as far as like major projects right now, just kind of getting back in the groove of being at school. That was a big part of our time last week too, just kind of, learning the routines of, it's been a while since you've been surrounded by a lot of kids, and maybe you have to be patient before you speak and things like that. So we're going to kind of get out and do some of that stuff, observing some things, describing some things, coming up with detailed words, some vivid description words, and kind of working on that writing process just in a very loose manner to kind of talk about how that can kind of work to get us to a good piece of writing. So it's usually, it was a lot of fun last year, and we'll definitely take advantage of that and frame it in a way that we can get outside and use some writing procedures for that. Okay, that's really all I've got for you coming up this week. Again, there is still going to be a pretty big emphasis on getting used to the routines of things. So kids, I know that you guys did a great job. If you're watching this, you did a great job kind of last week getting into it. And we're going to keep practicing, keep getting into that routine, and keep becoming more and more natural. Like I said, it really is. I think we are well ahead of where I expected to be, even just in these first couple of days, just based on how well you guys came in and we're ready to go. So we'll do that. We'll get into it. We'll do a little bit of schoolwork stuff. Again, like I said, we are waiting on a couple books still with some other things, so it's a little bit of a somewhat slow start. However, we're off to a great beginning so far, and I'm looking forward to more. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, or if you're seeing this Monday, hope you're off to a good start this week. And I will talk to you all later, and I'll see you at school. Thanks, guys.